Brilliance Audio presents The Things We Do for Love by Kristin Hannah, performed by Susan Ericksen.
Once again, for Benjamin and Tucker. For good friends, Holly and Gerald, Mark and Monica, Tom and Lori, Megan and Caney, and Steve and Jill. And finally, a special thanks to Linda Marrow for an effort that was above and beyond the call of duty. Chapter 1. The streets of West End were crowded on this unexpectedly sunny day. All across town, mothers stood in open doorways, with hands tented across their eyes, watching their children play. Everyone knew that soon, probably tomorrow, a soapy haze would creep across the sky, covering the blue, obliterating the delicate sun, and once more the rain would fall. It was May, after all, in the Pacific Northwest. Rain came to this month as surely as ghosts took to the streets on the 31st of October and salmon came home from the sea. "It sure is hot," Conlon said from the driver's seat of the sleek black BMW convertible. It was the first thing he'd said in almost an hour. He was trying to make conversation, that was all. Angie should return the volley, perhaps mention the beautiful hawthorn trees that were in bloom. But even as she had the thought, she was exhausted by it. In a few short months, those tiny green leaves would begin to curl and blacken. The color would be drawn out of them by the cold nights, and they would fall to the ground unnoticed. When you looked at it that way, what was the point in noticing so fleeting a moment? She stared out the window at her hometown. It was the first time she'd been back in months. Although West End was only 120 miles from Seattle, that distance had seemed to swell lately in her mind. As much as she loved her family, she'd found it difficult to leave her own house. Out in the world, there were babies everywhere. They drove into the old part of town, where Victorian houses had been built one after another on tiny patches of lawn. Huge, leafy maple trees shaded the street, cast an intricate lacework pattern of light on the asphalt. In the 70s, this neighborhood had been the town's heart. Kids had been everywhere back then, riding their big wheels and Schwinn bicycles from one house to the next. There had been block parties every Sunday after church, and games of Red Rover played in every backyard. In the years between then and now, this part of the state had changed, and the old neighborhoods had fallen into silence and disrepair. Salmon runs had diminished, and the timber industry had been hit hard. People who had once made their living from the land and the sea had been pushed aside, forgotten. New residents built their houses in clusters, in subdivisions named after the very trees they cut down. But here, on this small patch of Maple Drive, time had stood still. The last house on the block looked exactly as it had for 40 years. The white paint was pure and perfect. The emerald green trim glistened. No weed had ever been allowed to flourish in the lawn. Angie's father had tended to this house for 4 decades. It had been his pride and joy. Every Monday, after a weekend of hard work at the family's restaurant, he'd devoted a full 12-hour day to home and garden maintenance. In the 6 months since his death, Angie's mother had tried to follow that routine. It had become her solace, her way of connecting with the man she'd loved for almost 50 years. And when she tired of the hard work, someone was always ready to lend a hand. Such help, Mama often reminded them, was the advantage to having 3 daughters. Her payoff, she claimed, for surviving their teen years. Conlon pulled up to the curb and parked. As the convertible top shushed mechanically into place, he turned to Angie. "Are you sure you're okay with this?" "I need to do it. I miss my family." "It's been 4 months since—" "I know how long it's been. I'm here, aren't I?" She turned to look at him finally. He was exhausted. She saw the glint of it in his blue eyes, but knew he would.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?